Competition is fierce, consumer tastes flip overnight, and the pressure's on to keep cranking out reliable, stylish, and tech-packed rides. But Chevrolet's not flinching. In fact, they're not backing off, with 9 all-new or heavily refreshed vehicles gearing up for 2026 season that'll seriously shake up the scene. Some are tough, trail-ready haulers, some are already legendary vehicles, and some are slick commuters with the right amount of attitude. Either way, this lineup proves Chevy's not just hanging in the fast lane, they're gunning it with fresh designs, smarter tech, performance, and efficiency upgrades. These are the Chevys that'll turn heads and light up the streets in 2026. 2026 Chevy Silverado 1500. Yeah, a lot of truckers have their gripes. Some are still salty about lifter failures, shaky transmissions, or other gremlins that popped up in previous models. And fair enough, those issues were real. But let's be honest, when you're moving so many units year after year, a few bugs are going to sneak through the cracks. Thing is, most Silverado owners aren't spending their weekends at the service bay. They're hauling trailers, tackling job sites, or just cruising around town without a hitch. Chevy's been tuning this platform hard, and now, the 2026 Silverado 1500 is lining up for a big leap forward. A fresh new look brings more aggressive and more distinct from its heavy-duty sibling. But what hasn't changed? The heartbeat. Chevy's sticking with what works, the trusty V8 stay in the game, and the Duramax turbo diesel is still on the menu too, thanks to the recent rollback in emissions regulations. 2026 Chevy Camaro. Did you really think Chevrolet was just going to throw in the towel on one of the most iconic names in muscle car history and let Ford have the playground all to itself? Not a chance. The Camaro might have hit a pause, but Chevy's not pulling the plug completely. Not yet anyway. Despite all the drama around its so-called final year, the Camaro name is sticking around for 2026. And no, it's not morphing into some crossover coupe thing. Here's where it gets weird. Chevy drops the curtain on the Camaro, and almost immediately after, rumors start teasing a Pontiac revival. Coincidence? Maybe. But if you grew up dreaming of Firebirds and Trans Ams tearing up the asphalt, it's hard not to connect the dots. The timing is just too perfect, and there's a real chance that a new Pontiac-badged muscle car might be in the pipeline, and this not dead yet 2026 Camaro could be the bridge. So what is the 2026 Camaro exactly? A placeholder? A tribute lap? Or a secret testbed for something bigger under the GM umbrella? We don't have all the answers yet, but Chevy's not ready to let the Camaro badge gather dust, and whatever comes next, the muscle car war is far from over. 2026 Chevy Montana. The compact pickup scene is heating up fast, with the Ford Maverick leading the charge and the Hyundai Santa Cruz carving out its niche. Now, the Bowtie brand is jumping in with a fresh player. Say hello to the 2026 Chevy Montana. If that name sounds familiar, it's because the Montana's been cruising South American roads for years. But for 2026, it's finally crossing over to US soil, literally and figuratively. This isn't some import workaround or rebadged experiment. GM is building the Montana right here in the States, sidestepping new tariff headaches and giving buyers a homegrown option. Expect a price tag that lands around $25,000. The Montana's going to give Chevy something it's been missing for years, a true compact pickup with the size, style, capability, and price to attract new buyers, and maybe even steal a few from Ford and Hyundai in the process. 2026 Chevy Blazer. There was a time, not long ago, when it looked like the gas-powered Blazer was headed for the scrap heap. With GM going full throttle on EVs and the original plan to phase out internal combustion SUVs, the writing seemed to be on the wall after the 2025 model year. But the road took a turn. Thanks to the recent softening of EPA emission standards, the 2026 Chevy Blazer isn't going anywhere. In fact, it's getting a second wind, and maybe its best version yet. GM is shifting gears on strategy, dialing back some of its EV spending, and pouring fresh investment back into ICE development. One of the biggest winners is the Blazer. Instead of fading out, it's gearing up for a redesign and sticking with its tried-and-true gas-fed powertrains. For a lot of drivers, that's exactly what they've been waiting to hear. Long story short, the Blazer dodged the axe, got a makeover, and is back in the mix for 2026. 2026 Chevy El Camino. Alright, buckle up, the El Camino name is buzzing again, and this time, it's not just fan forum wishful thinking. GM's been poking at the past lately, and there's real chatter that the El Camino is finally ready to make a comeback in 2026. Now, let's be clear, this isn't a return to the burnout-happy, chrome bumper coupe that once made muscle car fans weak in the knees. That ship sailed a long time ago. If the new El Camino hits the streets, it's not rolling in on a cloud of tire smoke and nostalgia. It's coming in with a new mission. The 2026 version is shaping up to be more crossover utility than drag strip demon. Think unibody design, practical dimensions, and probably an efficient 4-cylinder or electrified setup under the hood. Yeah, it might make enthusiasts groan, but it could also be exactly what younger buyers want, a cool-looking rig that's affordable and a little offbeat. The El Camino's always been a weird mashup, and in a market craving new ideas, that weirdness might finally work in its favor again. 2026 Chevy Traverse. The Traverse has always been one of the more solid choices in the three-row SUV game, and even though it's still relatively fresh, it's one of the most sought-after models in the Chevy lineup. People love the space, comfort, practicality. That's why GM's giving the 2026 Traverse the kind of attention that'll make it even more appealing. The SUV already introduced the Z71 trim, which means it's ready to tackle some tougher terrain with a more rugged appearance and off-road-ready features. But that's just the start. The real kicker for the new season could be the ZR2, an even more hardcore, off-road-centric version. And let's talk power for a second. Chevy's clearly moved on from the V6 engine, and the Turbo 4 it's leaning on instead is proving to be a better fit for most buyers. 2026 Chevy Colorado. Don't expect fireworks as this mid-size pickup is still riding the momentum from its recent redesign, and Chevy knows better than to mess with a formula that's already hitting the mark. The current Colorado is one of the most well-equipped, well-rounded trucks in the segment. It's got the rugged bones, tech features, and trim options to cover everything from weekday job site duty to weekend trail running. So for 2026, Chevy's not rushing any big overhauls. Instead, they're letting this thing breathe. Another reason for the status quo. GM's got other irons in the fire. With the compact Montana and the El Camino revival, the company's focus is clearly shifting to filling out the lower end of the truck lineup. Expect the 2026 Colorado to stick to what it's always been, a reliable, durable, go-anywhere, do-anything truck. 2026 Chevy Bolt EV. The next-gen 2026 Bolt EV is already in the pipeline, and this time, it's coming back in tune with what budget-conscious buyers of electric vehicles are actually looking for. The original Bolt carved out a spot as the people's electric car, simple and affordable. It had its quirks, but it also proved that EVs didn't have to be luxury toys or science experiments. And now, with electric vehicles flooding the market, Chevy's making sure the new Bolt doesn't get lost in the shuffle. This upcoming version is expected to bring a lot more to the table without losing its core appeal. We're talking a price tag around $30,000. We're talking entry-level trims hovering around 200 miles of range, while higher-end versions stretching past 300 miles. And yes, all-wheel drive should finally be in the mix, which has been a long time coming. It's also walking into a way more competitive arena now, going up against fresh names like the Kia EV3 and Volvo EX30. If GM nails the formula again, the 2026 Bolt EV could be the car that pulls a lot of skeptical buyers into the electric world. 2026 Chevy Malibu. Here's another twist, the Chevy Malibu lives to see another model year. After all the talk about GM pulling the plug on its last remaining sedan, the car is staying in the game, again thanks to the recent emissions regulations rollback. But, let's be real, this isn't some bold new chapter with a flashy redesign or an all-new generation. The 2026 Malibu will be a carryover from the 2025 model, and Chevy isn't pretending otherwise. But the point is, it's here. Still rolling off the line. Still filling a spot in the lineup that's getting emptier by the year as sedans fade out. So no, it's not the most exciting vehicle on this list, but it earns its place just by showing up. The 2026 Malibu proves that sometimes survival is a statement all its own.